So Dana Perino is not the brightest, and she said something which is astounding here. She went on, she was on her show after this gigantic I-95 traffic jam. What happened is there was a snowstorm that swept through the D.C. area. It was D.C. and Virginia. And funny enough, here in New York, we got nothing. And, you know, obviously we're north of D.C., but weirdly, they got snow. We didn't. They didn't treat the roads. They didn't treat the roads before this snowstorm. And D.C. is not as used to snow as New York or places north of New York. So it created, all hell broke loose because they didn't pre-treat the roads. They didn't put salt on the roads. And so you had this very wet snow that fell. You had the sheet of ice that was on the roads and the ground. And a couple trucks jackknifed. And for whatever reason, they couldn't fix it. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have fixed some of it once, and then immediately people started crashing again. And I-95 was just totally clogged for literally over a full day. 24 hours. Tim Kaine was on the road, I think, for 27 hours, maybe 28. People were running out of food. They were running out of fuel. They didn't have anywhere to go to the bathroom. Everybody just stuck in their cars because I-95 was totally shut down. A couple jackknife trucks, and it was game, set, match. The whole thing was blocked. So a total nightmare. This shouldn't happen at all. They should have pre-treated the roads. They should have had better rescue teams. I mean, shit, I watch it when it's late at night and I'm like half asleep. I'll throw on this channel, this Weather Channel show. I think it's called Highway Through Hell, where I think it's in British Columbia, Canada, where they get monster snowstorms like every day. And the roads are treacherous. And you got these trucks all the time that jackknife or go off the road. And these guys do the rescue. These guys flip the trucks up or get rid of the jackknife and clear the road. They'll handle some shit in an hour or two or three. And here you have Washington, D.C. Now, they don't get nearly as much snow there, so that's probably why they weren't prepared enough. But you got these things jackknife, and, like, the world shuts down. I mean, it's just pathetic. It's further evidence of imperial rot because, like, really, this is not a problem you can handle? This isn't something that you guys had the manpower or the ability to fix? It's just the saddest thing I've ever seen. And again, the original sin was you didn't pre-treat the roads, which they absolutely had to do. Well, anyway, Dana Perino has something to say about what's to blame for this happening.
I want to point out one thing that I do not believe has been said yet. I talked to a state legislator there in Virginia, and he pointed out to me that in the last several years, many on the left made a decision that local sheriffs should not be allowed to have military-grade equipment. Right? Because they said that that was a bad symbol and that it was too militaristic and authoritarian. But imagine if they were still allowed to have the equipment that they had just a few years ago, it probably would have come in very helpful today.
How the hell would military-grade equipment help them? What are you going to do? Go out there and light up the jackknife trucks with some giant machine guns? Use some Kevlar vest to, like, body surf down the roads? What are you talking military grade? How the fuck would that help? My favorite part of that clip is at the very beginning. At the very beginning, she's like, I have a point to make. I don't think anybody else has said this yet. Yeah, Dana, nobody else said it because nobody else is as dumb as you on the panel. She said it like she was proud to have thought of this. And she's amazed. Well, nobody else beat me to this thought. What are you going to do? Roll tanks down I-95 when I-95 is so clogged that the tanks can't go anywhere? What are you going to drive over the cars with a giant tanks or something? In no way, shape, or form would military equipment have helped this situation. You know what would help this situation? Pre-treating the roads. That's it. So basic, intelligent infrastructure work and prep. That's it. Maybe after that, having more functional rescue crews that are better at dealing with the icy conditions or the jackknife trucks or whatever. Like, I have no doubt that if it was those dudes on the show Highway Through Hell, they would have cleaned that bitch up in like 37 minutes and everybody would have been good. So that's the What are you talking about? It's just so indicative of the conservative reaction to everything. You know, it's like whenever there's a mass shooting, the first thing they say is, if only we had more guns. What? We have over 300 million guns in this country. We are swimming in a sea of guns. And we have more than almost every other, maybe every other developed country. And would you look at that? We have more mass shootings than any other country. So how could you say this thing which is objectively leading to the problem is actually the solution? Now, I get it. There's like a game theory idea. Well, if the good guys had the guns, then, then they'd be able to outnumber the bad guys. But point is, they have the same reaction to everything whenever there's a problem with the economy. If we just did more tax cuts for the rich and deregulation, that would fix it. Well, what about when you did the tax cuts for the rich and the deregulation under Bill Clinton? He did the deregulation. And then under George W. Bush, he did deregulation and tax cuts for the rich. And then that led to a giant crash. What about that? Well, the problem is we didn't cut taxes enough. And the problem is we didn't deregulate enough. The answer on foreign policy, more war. The answer with mass shootings, more guns. The answer with anything involving the economy, cut the red tape, deregulate, and cut taxes for the rich. And this is that conservative instinct. And the other thing is, I have to find a way to own the libs. Any way possible I can own the libs. You have people, both on Fox News and the real hard right base, the online right, they have built their entire existence is built around this notion of, I solely want to trigger the libs. My whole reason for existing is, how do I trigger the libs? How do I blame the libs, and how do I trigger the libs? So what do I do here? Well, stupid libs didn't want military-grade equipment going to the cops. And you know what? I think that would have solved the traffic jam. It's astounding. Now, you tell me, man. I know the Fox News audience, 78 years old, retired, watching on their couch or whatever. Please tell me that even they, for a split second, went, carry the 6. I'm not sure how that would work, Dana. How would that work? How would the military-grade equipment have solved this crisis? How would it have done it? No, the answer is, for the love of God, let's get some basic functioning infrastructure. I know that area, by the way, of I-95, because I go to D.C. all the time. And they got endless construction. They've had construction going on there since like 1922. I mean, it's just all the time. Always, always, always. So, one of the things is, for the love of God, actually update the infrastructure, get it over with, and let's fix it. That's one thing. But then also just have intelligent public officials who know you got to pre-treat the roads before a snowstorm comes in, have better rescue. It's the basics. You got to cover the basics and cover all your bases in order to fix something like this. And instead of the obvious answer, they go right to, let me trigger the libs, let me blame the libs, let me say, I don't know, lack of military-grade equipment or something. That's the problem. She was proud of this point. She was proud of it. You could see it in her face. She was like, can't believe nobody else said this first, but here's the problem. There you go. This is Fox News giving their viewers brain worms since they launched. I think they launched in 1996. Is that right? The amount of damage that this silly network has done is almost immeasurable. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.